Max Fury Road released to nearly universal critical praise on May 15th, 2015. I managed to catch the film twice in theaters, and I can say without a doubt that they were some of the most memorable theater experiences I've had in a long time. Why is that? I think it has everything to do with the simplicity of its plot. The most refreshing thing about Fury Road is the breakneck pace in which the film throws itself at you. The introduction consists solely of a short voiceover to set the scene. That's all that's needed. George Miller trusts that audiences will be pulled into the movie with little dialogue and will figure things out as they go. It's completely unashamed to be the film that it is, and in our modern age of ultra-meta-obsessed pulp culture where everything is a reference or a commentary or only ironically enjoyable, a film like Fury Road is a refreshing experience. Tom Hardy is fantastic as Max Rokitansky. Much of his performance is communicated through gestures, grunts, and body language. His co-star, Charlize Theron, as Furiosa, does a great job of nearly stealing every scene she's in. A lot has been written, debated, and shouted in anger about the feminist overtones prevalent throughout the film. The fact that this has been a controversial issue for some die-hard fans of the franchise should be an embarrassing fact for this insecure and whiny subsection of male movie fans. The Mad Max series has always been about underdogs rising up against their oppressors, standing up and fighting for whatever happiness or safety is left in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Fury Road happens to revolve around a group of women choosing to try to overthrow a particularly nasty warlord. The wives aren't the sole victims of Immortan Joe's oppression either. His brainwashed army of loyal warboys are a great example of the horror of absolute devotion to a cause. They're hell-bent on serving their master, ready to die gloriously so that they might ride with him in Valhalla. The mostly unexplained details of Immortan Joe's cobbled-together religious cult is one of the most enjoyable parts of Fury Road. The world building in this film is both fascinating in its depth and inviting in how much it leaves out. They chose to explain as little as possible about the world. The lack of needless exposition strengthens the dialogue that remains. The theories and ideas that viewers will dream up after watching are an example of how less is more when constructing a fantastical setting. Show, don't tell us. We'll come up with the rest ourselves. Mad Max Fury Road is the perfect example how a modern film can have wall-to-wall action without being stupid. A great action movie can include over-the-top stunts and thrilling visuals without also asking audiences to turn off their brain for 2 hours. The primary complaint I hear about this film is people being disappointed by how simple the plot is. Pointing out plot issues and complaining about a straightforward story is the easiest and most shallow form of film criticism. Allow me to explain. Roger Ebert once said the following: "It's not what a movie is about, but it's how it's about it." A complicated plot can be an awesome and enjoyable aspect of a movie, but it shouldn't be a requirement. Films come in all shapes and sizes. Some are simple character studies that could be entirely summed up in a sentence or two. Others are sprawling, elaborate stories with dozens of characters. One type of plot isn't inherently superior. If your personal preference is geared towards complicated plots, that's fine too. Think about what film as a medium is. If what you enjoy most about a film can be communicated entirely through a Wikipedia plot summary, you're missing what makes movies unique. Complicated plots work great for novels, where you can reread confusing bits and spend hours getting engrossed in the story. A film, in comparison, has somewhere around 2 hours to tell its story. Some films forego almost all dialogue and focus instead on the audio-visual experience. A film shouldn't try to be a book. Although, if I remember my English classes correctly, a lot of people had issues being forced to read books that were light on plot as well. How many heard classmates voice complaints of "nothing happened" while reading A Catcher in the Rye? Often, films with many moving parts and a complicated story totally fail to connect because they lack any memorable characters. As human beings, we need other human beings to empathize with, who have hopes and dreams and fears we can relate to. There's a reason why Star Wars takes place in a galaxy far, far away, populated by hundreds of different alien life, where our main characters are all recognizably human. How many of us could really get behind Luke Skywalker if he looked like this? Yes, a movie needs to have things happening in it, but a simplified plot doesn't necessarily mean a film can't be complex, either by visuals, acting, dialogue, or direction and cinematography. There's plenty about cinema that can't be summed up in who does what where. The plot can be summed up by the script. If the script is the recipe, then the movie is the resulting cake. A good chef will work beyond the limitations of a bad recipe, just as a great director might produce a masterpiece without a script at all. If you're really interested in getting into film appreciation, watching very simple movies renowned for their visuals might be a good place to start. I'd suggest the following movies, which contain little to no plot, which will force you into focusing on everything else. The first hour of Pixar's WALL-E is a good introduction to plotless and dialogue-light cinema. It takes place mostly without any human characters or dialogue, as we follow our protagonist, cleaning up the Earth, free of humans, but full of our garbage. The second half of WALL-E, once aboard humanity's new spaceship Home, follows a much more standard Pixar film plot. Next, I'd suggest a far more challenging Under the Skin. It's a 2014 sci-fi thriller about an alien played by Scarlett Johansson who lures unsuspecting men to an unfortunate fate. The movie plays out with very little dialogue and essentially zero exposition. It leaves it up to the viewer to decide what is happening in most scenes. Its ambiguity invites careful consideration on behalf of the audience. Some may find the lack of clear answers frustrating, but if you move beyond the urge to have things explained to you, it's an incredibly beautiful and haunting film. Certain scenes from my initial viewing have never quite left me. And finally, I'm going to recommend the documentary Koyaanisqatsi. It's a documentary in that it's not scripted and largely consists of real life. There is absolutely zero plot or dialogue. The film consists of shots focused on different aspects of humanity and the Earth, from scenes of nature to our cities to the production of hot dogs. Its hypnotic visuals are matched with an equally compelling score by Philip Glass, the renowned modern American composer. You might recognize some of the pieces of music composed for this in other films, in particular this scene from 2009's Watchmen.
I feel fear for the last night.
Hopefully, these pieces of cinematic history can give you a better perspective of the role that plot plays in your enjoyment of a movie. Remember, film is first and foremost a visual medium. If you're only going to focus on the plot, you might as well read a book. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. In the comments, why don't you share your favorite movie with little to no plot? And subscribe for more.